If by some chance, some stroke of luck, or some act of God, you have stumbled upon this broadcast, you are listening to the Chivalry Chronicles with your host, DLH, David, and me, Jaime. I hope you're ready, because I know we are. So let's get into it. Hey, so we're back. So we have a special treat for you today, since my co-host had prior engagements. We have a special guest with us today. His name is Noriega. He's one of the bloggers for 162 Plus. You can find him on also Facebook. So welcome to the show.
What's up, Jaime? Good to be here. I'm a trusted listener. I'm a P1.
The P1, that's right. We have a bunch of P1s out there. I wanted to bring you on because I love talking about sports. And one of the biggest topics is dynasties. People throw that term around all the time. They win one, and then now it's a dynasty. So I kicked the idea over to you. I said, "Hey, did you hear Bob Sturm on the ticket talk about dynasties?" And he had a criteria. When I read his blog, he said, "Hey, there wasn't one, and I have time on my hands, so what the hell?" When I was looking at it, I said, "You know what? Let me read it. Let's see what he talks about." So I'm gonna read it to you. I'm gonna read what he said, and then we can discuss it, and then you can tell me if you disagree with this sort of the way he did it. But he basically
because when you told me about it, I didn't even know about it. I hadn't heard that he did something new, something cool like that. So
yeah. So he said you need to win at least 3 times. Like, you need 3 championships, and then it has to be 3 championships within a span of 6 years or less. So it's basically the rule of the double rule or something. I don't know what you would call it. He has 4 championships in 8 years and 5 championships in 10 years or less. So automatically, if you talk to any, we'll start with the NFL. So when you talk to any NFL fan, right? And if they're a big, avid NFL fan, he can rattle these off pretty easily, right? You have the Steelers, you have the Packers, Niners, Dallas, on and on and on. But I wanted to ask you.
Thought you were going in order.
No, I'm just naming them. If you ask them, most people think of the Steelers. I think that's who they start off with. Especially for me, I mean, when you start watching football, you're pretty young, and then you start just seeing all the dynasties. But I wanted to ask you, because I know you're working on sort of a similar ranking for dynasties for baseball. You're a big baseball fan, hence the 162 plus. So can you tell us about it, or kind of give us a little background and tell us how you're doing your rankings?
Okay, well, I saw this thing on Facebook, and this big site. It just started like earlier this spring. It's called Romantic About Baseball. Everyone loves that movie, Moneyball,
right?
And he got off to like a real. He describes it like, it's real. I'm just doing this as a hobby, and then it just caught fire. It's like 5,000, 6,000. He keeps going up in followers. So he posted this ranking from another site, which is similar to Bob Sturm, again, who always does cool stuff like this, saying ranking teams based on championships. I forget the other criteria, but he had a whole ranking there. And I looked at it and I was like, okay, because the Rangers were, I think, 20. But I saw that the Marlins are lower than them, and they've won 2 championships. We've won 1. So I was like, let me tinker with that a little bit. Let me see what I can do. Just something that seems fair to me to rank the teams, because obviously the Yankees are the behemoth in baseball, but 20 of their championships are before 1960 something, if memory serves.
Right.
And they have 27 now, so 7 here in the modern era, kind of. And then I want to do something a little controversial. I don't know if I want to say it, but I think I would omit everything before integration. And that will take away 10 titles from me.
Well, you don't want to, you don't want to do any spoilers before you bring out your rankings. When you do post it, let us know. I'm definitely, I'll definitely read it, and then maybe we'll bring you back on and actually go through your specific rankings for theirs.
Right. It's a concept of a plan.
Yeah, that's the thing now. Concepts of plans. Yeah, we mentioned Bob Sturm, and Bob Sturm also does basically a ranking that he updates every year that are for the greatest franchise of all time, and he basically does something similar. And I think it would be cool if he did it for baseball. And I assume it's completely unbiased, right? We're not going to see the Rangers at 1.
Right. Hey, 2010 and 2011.
I mean, I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate it, but
it comes out and the Rangers are number 1. You're like, I don't know about this one. Well,
it might need a little bit more workshop. But so getting back to Bob Sturm and his criteria for dynasties, because one thing to rank, greatest franchises, dynasties are a totally different thing. Once your team is considered a dynasty, I mean, people can talk all the smack that they want, but when it's a dynasty, it's a dynasty. So,
and
they do, especially if you haven't been to an NFC championship in 30 years. Yeah. Right. Okay. But still dynasty. So let's talk about, I'll do the NFL, and then you can talk about baseball, right? What dynasties that you can come up with using this criteria, and then we'll kind of both do the NBA, and then I think the NHL has a bunch of them too. So with the NFL specifically, they are right now, according to this criteria, there have been 7 dynasties, and 1 is currently still going. So the first dynasty would be the Green Bay Packers, which is 5 titles in 7 years, 61, 62, 65, 66, and 67. And for the kids out there, it's 1966, 1967. This is the mid 1900s.
And some of those are pre-Super Bowl era.
Pre-Super Bowl era, yeah. And then you have the Pittsburgh Steelers, which we were talking about earlier, which is 4 titles in 6 years, 74, 75, 78, and 79.
Which, if a couple of those swing the other way, we're having a different conversation.
We are. So when I was younger, the NFL, what is it? NFL, who's the programmer that does all the Super Bowls? NFL Films, right? NFL Films would play the 30-minute Super Bowl highlights, and I would watch it every year. And then when it gets to Jackie Smith,
yeah, yep, in the end zone.
Yeah,
I wasn't born, but
yeah, I think if you're a Dallas Cowboy fan, yeah, man, you just can't stand the Steelers for that specific reason. Those two Super Bowls. But anyway, so Pittsburgh is 1. Then in the 80s, once again, another if things go flip a different way, you kind of have another discussion. But in the 80s, everyone knows the Niners, right? 4 titles in 9 years. 81
again. I was 1 year old maybe.
in 81. Yeah, the catch.
Another tentpole moment for those early Cowboys teams. Sorry, we don't want to talk about the Cowboys all night.
and Danny White, it doesn't get a lot of doesn't get a lot of talk, but that dude took teams to NFC Championship games. So, but so you have the Niners 81, 84, 88, and 89. Now they also won in 95, but that doesn't fit the criteria. So we're going to call the 80s Niners. And of course, in the 1990s, you have the Dallas Cowboys, who won 3 titles in 4 years, 92, 93, and 95. The first team to do that. And then something that I thought was interesting, the way that Bob Sturm did it, is that he split up the Patriots, and he calls them 2 dynasties, right? So it's one team, but it's 2 separate dynasties. And the first one is 3 titles in 4 years, 01, 03, and 04.
Second team to do it.
The second team to do it. And then he has the New England Patriots, 3 titles in 5 years at 14, 16, and 18. And then, of course, currently we're in the Kansas City dynasty era, which is 19, 22, and 23. The other kind of remarkable thing is that Kansas City's been to 2 other ones and lost. I mean, it's a legit dynasty. There's no it fits the criteria, but not only does it fit the criteria, it's gone above and beyond. I mean, now you just expect freaking Patrick Mahomes to win a game when you're down by, less than a touchdown in 30 seconds.
He'll find a way. He's the new Tom Brady, right?
Yeah.
He's going to find a way to win.
Yeah. So those are the dynasties. I mean, do you agree with that? Is there anything in there that could possibly be a dynasty? I mean, I can't think of another team that's won. I mean, I know the Giants won a couple in the 80s. They also won a couple in the in the 2000s.
Right, they stole a couple from Tom Brady. Nothing. No, there's tiny things that sprouted up, like the John Elway, Terrell Davis Broncos, right?
Yeah, that was what 97, 98.
Yeah, they went back to back. I thought.
Yep, back to back.
Right. There's not much else. I don't think there's anything other than that team and the Eli Manning Giants that,
Yeah, I think
beat the Cowboys, right? Beat the Cowboys, beat the 17-0, 18. What was it? The undefeated Patriots.
Yes. Yeah,
was that 07?
Yeah, they were the I think they were 17-0 or 16-0, and then they went. I think they were 18-0 at the time.
Yeah, so the 18-1 Patriots.
Yeah, that was.
So nothing really else in there, I don't think, except for those John Elway Broncos. And then, I mean, you got the Bills if they win
4 in a row.
If they win those 4, there's no Cowboys 90s dynasty, and we're having a different conversation. Things can swing either way with stuff like we're talking about the 70s, the 80s, even with the 49ers now, right? If they find a way to beat the Ravens and the Chiefs, they're a dominant franchise again.
Right. Yeah, you have the Redskins in the 80s that won 3, but they're too far apart,
Mm-hmm.
You have the Raiders that won, I think within a span of, 7 years, but I mean, it's 3-7, 3-8. So, I mean, it gets kind of hazy, so they don't really meet the criteria. And then, I mean, you could make the argument one was the Oakland Raiders and the other one was the LA Raiders. So, and it's the same franchise, but.
Yeah. And then, there's what could have been teams like the Greatest Show on Turf.
Yeah.
That's where the whole Tom Brady thing starts, right? He beats that team.
Yeah, because they won the year before. They won in '99.
Yep.
And then, of course, you have the Ravens mixed in there.
Yeah.
In
But yeah,
2001.
I'll sign up on the NFL dynasties. That's good to me.
All right, so then we'll move. So then give me your MLB dynasties.
Well, I mean, it's a really short conversation.
Well, I mean, we are considering chivalry shorts for a for this.
Yeah. So it's really just the Yankees through the years, and then I mean the Red Sox in the dead ball era. That's baseball so old, right?
Yeah.
The Cardinals, big time. The Big Red Machine, the Reds in the '70s, the A's in the '80s.
Yep.
And the Yankees again, the late '90s Yankees. Yep. Three of those titles beat the Rangers on their way to those. So it's a really short conversation. And then I guess the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah.
2010, 2012, 2014, Ranger connection, Bruce Bochy, right?
Right.
He can't win back to back.
Can't win back to back, yeah.
And then he's flipping the script with the Rangers, because with the Giants it was 2010, 2012, 2014, even years. Rangers, 2023, 2025.
Yeah.
And then he would have to, re-up and stay because his contract's up. But the Giants is really the last, which you could even consider. It meets the criteria, right? The Giants 3 and 4 years.
Yeah. No, they definitely do.
Even though they didn't win back-to-back.
Yeah, and then some people do have that as a criteria, but I think that's asking for a lot. I mean, if you make it every other year, that's still pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So that leaves
us.
I think. Oh, go ahead.
I think that's it. I think that's it for baseball. Really, it's just the story of the Yankees. Basically, there's Cardinals, the Reds. There's historic franchises in baseball, but the Yankees dominated it up until the mid '60s, and then had a resurgence. Now, of course, they're back in the ALCS,
right,
which they seem to be in all the time. So
Yeah, so Boston won somewhere in the 2000s, but I think it was too far apart.
Oh, and the Astros aren't a dynasty. Had to say.
No, well, they don't meet the criteria.
Right.
I think even if they went, let's say, hypothetically speaking, they win next year, that's still 3 and 7 years. So, I mean, it's kind of you're on the outskirts. You're in the suburbs. Yep. You haven't hit downtown yet.
Yep.
So then, I guess we can go to the NBA, which once again with the NBA, it's if you ask anybody that watches the NBA that's a big fan, they're gonna rattle off. I mean, the first one you think of for people like our age is probably the Bulls, right?
Yep.
That just and I mean, do you consider them two dynasties? I mean, is it one dynasty? Because it's the three-peat repeat. Like that to me, when I saw that, there's a T-shirt, in the late '90s when you saw the three-peat repeat, I was like, man, that's when are you ever going to see that? That's
right.
That's pretty badass.
But, and then you got the two in the middle where there's no Michael Jordan. He came back tail end of one of those seasons, right?
Yeah.
And obviously the Rockets won those two in the middle.
Yep.
But I think that would be like a Boston Celtics type run if Michael Jordan didn't want to go play baseball, right? They would have swept the
other rumor is that he was running into some issues with betting and all kinds of stuff. So,
oh, yeah, that's true too.
So, but if we want to go chronologically, right? You have the Celtics. I mean, it's ridiculous. What did you say earlier? 8 in a row, 9 in 10 years, and then they won another one. 3 years after that little run. That's just.
But 8 in a row is just insane.
That's crazy. Yeah. So after that, I guess you would go with the Lakers, maybe.
The Showtime Lakers, sorry.
The Showtime. What is it? The Showtime Lakers.
The Showtime Mavericks. They beat the Showtime Mavericks.
I don't think that's an approved nickname, sir.
Hey, someone was on here trying to besmirch the Mavericks. I won't name any names.
Let's see. So you had the Celtics, and then you had a bunch of teams sprinkled in there, right? Golden State won one, Portland, the Supersonics, and then you start the Lakers again, and with Magic Johnson when he comes up. So it's the Lakers in the 80s. Now, I don't think the Celtics meet the criteria because they won 2 in the 80s, and they were too far apart. Well, they need to win 3s. Well, no, they won 3. My bad. So they won in 81, 84, and 86. So that meets the criteria. So,
yeah.
You can have overlapping dynasties, I guess. Because
Agreed.
Yeah, because you have the Lakers win in 80, Boston win in 81, Lakers win in 82, Philadelphia sneaks in there, and then it's Boston in 84, Lakers in 85, Boston in 86, Lakers 87, Lakers 88, and then then Lakers lose to Detroit, and then Detroit ran 2 off in a row, and then you run into the Bulls. I mean, the Bulls dominate the 90s.
Yeah. And then, the NBA is always the next up and coming team, right? It's a sport of heartbreak, right? You get your heart broken, get your heart ripped out, come back stronger, and that's how it goes. It's always the next team coming up.
Right. And then we hit 99 and 2000. You have the Lakers rattle off the 3 in a row, which, I mean, if that's in the least amount of years you can do it. So that's definitely a dynasty. And then you have the Spurs sprinkled in there, right? They won in 99. They won in 03. They won in 05 and 07. So they definitely do the 3 and 6 years with 03, 05, and 07. They kind of
03, 05, 07. That counts.
Yeah. You have Detroit mixing in there once. You have the Heat getting in there in 06, which is a heartbreaker for us.
But again, there's some of these things could go. It's also the thing we were saying with the NFL. Like some of these things go the opposite way. The Lakers lose to the Pistons.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. The Celtics beat the Lakers. They could have had a 3-peat in there, but the Mavs, it's.
Yeah, so the Lakers went three years in a row, lost to the Celtics, and then won 2 in a row. So that's not really, that doesn't meet the criteria of a dynasty. But if you do the 5 and 10 years, they're in there. You know what I'm saying? Because they won in 2000, and then you go all the way to 2010. Yeah. So
two completely different Lakers teams. Yeah.
Yeah. So you could, I mean, they kind of meet both. So that was definitely a dynasty. And then you have the Mavs come in 2011, sneak one in there and beat, kind of have their, what do you call it, against Miami. They need to get their I guess the avenge 2006.
Yeah, and it was also the last stand against the super team. The super team, they kept trying to make it work. And the Heat obviously go on to win 2, right? Or wait, did they?
Yeah, the Heat won.
No,
2.
They won.
No, they won 2. The next 2. And the Heat, does not meet the criteria for a dynasty. I mean, they only won 2. They did go to 4 straight, but were only to be able to secure 2 of them. They lost to the Mavs. They're bookend, right? So they lose to the Mavs. They win against Oklahoma City. They beat the Spurs, and the Spurs come back and beat them the following year. So after that, then you have Golden State that, last time I looked at this, I'd kind of forgotten that Golden State went to, 4 straight championships or 4 straight finals and won 2 of them, and then came back and won another one in 2022. So that's 3 and 4 years, right? They won in 2015, 2017, and 2018. And they lost to Cleveland, which was a miraculous comeback win, pretty much spearheaded by Kyrie Irving, right? I mean, that's when I was like, man, Kyrie Irving is like freaking badass. Like, I didn't really
Math connection. We always circle back to Dallas somehow.
But that's when you're like, man, this guy's an elite player. He's a superstar. LeBron was on that team too, but and then now we're kind of in this kind of Golden State won a couple of years ago. Then you got Denver, and then last year, of course, Dallas and the Celtics go meet in the finals, and you have the Celtics. So really, with the NBA, it's kind of a short conversation, like we were talking about. It's basically Golden State, San Antonio. If we're going backwards, Golden State, San Antonio, Lakers, Bulls, Lakers, Boston, and then
we kind of didn't even talk about like the larger conversation, which is the Celtics and Lakers having the most championships.
Oh yeah, that's ridiculous.
And then the NFL, it's the Patriots and the Steelers, right?
Yeah, both having 6. Yeah.
And then baseball, it's the Yankees and everyone else. Even though, keep an eye out for a post talking about.
We'll be on the lookout for it. Then we'll touch on the NHL really quick. I mean, that's once again a short conversation, like you were saying. It's the Montreal Canadiens. I mean, they have 10 in basically different parts, right? But it's pretty ridiculous. The Oilers, 84, 85, 87, 88. I mean, 90. So they won 5 in like 6 or 7 years. The Islanders won 4 in 4 years. Well, 80, 81, 82, 83. The Red Wings, of course, 97, 98, 2002.
Yep. One of our foes for the Stars there in the 90s.
And then Toronto Maple Leafs, 47, 48, 49, 51. And, just kind of you have some other ones that are in there, but I mean those are basically your top dynasties.
And then there's small ones that try to get something going, like Tampa Bay.
Yeah. Here
in the COVID era, they also beat the Stars in that year in the bubble, and they went to 3 straight, but couldn't get the 3-peat. And then now, like very recently, Vegas trying to do something. The Golden Knights.
Freaking Vegas too, man.
Yep. So,
which I will say, our mascot is the Knight, so I do like the, when they do the national anthem and they do the Knights thing.
It's not better than ours.
It's not because Dallas does the Stars. So, really quick story. Me and another brother went to a Rangers game here recently. On the last month, and we're standing in line because we got there early to get a bobblehead, right? And they're playing the national anthem for some reason. I don't know why it was on or what we were talking about. And so when it came to Knights, because he's also a brother, right? We said we said Knights, and then a Rangers fan leans in, that was in the line. He's like, "Did you bring a Vegas fan to a Rangers game?" I was like, "No." I said, "Yeah." I was like, "Man, we need to get him out of here."
Yeah.
But yeah, and it is a thing, and people do, people that watch sports and understand it, and some people don't. Some people don't watch NHL, but I thought it was funny.
What do you think about the Golden Knights logo? Like, doesn't really, I don't know.
Well, the fact that it has like I guess they have a V, right?
Yeah.
And it looks cool. I think I like the logo on the shoulders, which is like a cross swords. But the helmet looks, the Knight helmet looks kind of cool. I'm not crazy about the V, because it almost looks inverted. And almost, I mean, if they would have closed it off a little bit more, it would have looked better. But I mean, it's an okay logo. I'm not, I'm not hating on it, but I do like the cross swords that have like a little star in the middle.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool, but the logo itself, I mean, I'm okay with it. It's good.
Just because earlier this week I was just putting over the Chivalry Chronicles logo. I think it looks really cool.
Yeah, and what we wanted to do is have a night, and then I wanted like an old school microphone, that you'd see in like in the 50s. And I think when I sent David kind of a real quick sketch. I was like, "Look, man, this is my thoughts about, how we can do a logo." And of course, he worked on it, and I think he threw it in ChatGPT or something, and he sent back that logo. I was like, "Hey, let's go, let's do this." I mean, let's get this on the road. So, yeah,
I don't know why. I'm saying I don't know why I get like Spartans vibe from the Golden Knights logo. It just doesn't seem, I don't know.
It definitely looks like a Spartan helmet, which is the Spartan logo is a great logo. When I saw it, I was like, man, it's minimalist, which I'm all about. And the blood splatter, I mean, it looks badass. And so it does kind of give you that vibe, but I'm not crazy about the V. I think they could have done something else, but they didn't ask me. They didn't say, "Hey, Jaime, can you work on our logo for me?" But
right. But I just wanted to mention that because they're the Knights, and the Knights, we use a lot of that imagery, and y'all's logo is pretty cool. So it's like, what do you think about the Golden Knights logo? Just want to throw that in there.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. Thank you. Just so y'all know, we are going to be printing shirts here pretty soon, and so be on the lookout for merch, and we'll probably start, doing some kind of contest or something, putting up, some polls on the Instagram and Twitter, and start giving merch out. So, Leo, thank you for coming on the show. Love doing Dynasty talk. I hope, we didn't have some people thinking we're going to talk about soap operas or anything like that, but
well, last thing on all this whole talk, the parity in the NHL and the MLB is really crazy. No, there's been some repeat champions, right? Mm-hmm. But no real dynasties in the NHL and MLB since I think 2010,
right?
Ish. It's been a long time. That's no repeat champion in the MLB. People are talking about Mahomes going 3-peat in the Chiefs, which has never happened in the NFL. That happens all the time in all kinds of other sports. So
right.
I think it's interesting that the NBA and the NFL are still big on dynasties. NHL, MLB, more parity, which I don't know which one people prefer, right? That would be the lasting conversation about dynasties versus parity. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree. So we're not going to talk about the WNBA and the
collegiate sports.
How the Aces just got bounced from the playoffs, and they had a chance at a 3-peat this year. We're not going to talk about that.
True.
Maybe next podcast we'll do a Caitlin Clark talk.
Caitlin Clark. Shout out to Caitlin Clark. Lost to the Dallas Wings. We beat her. I'm just saying. So throw that out there. Always got to plug Dallas.
Yeah, yeah, we got to represent. So, like I said, so where can we find you again? It's 162 Plus on Facebook. Is that correct?
162 Plus on Facebook, Blogspot, and Twitter, but don't, obviously, 162 PLUS.
Okay. So I would visit that 162 Plus, the Blogspot. There's a bunch of great posts there. I think one of my favorite ones was walk up music. You did. Yeah. If we get a chance, we need to do a podcast on that. That was a great write up. So appreciate you once again, and thank you to the listeners. We're gonna probably stick with Chivalry shorts on this one. It's just a quick Dynasty talk on this one, and then we'll do a couple here in the next couple of months. So thank you, and have a good one. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from us, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.